everybody, my name is Casey. Welcome back to those who have been here before, and welcome to those of you who are new. I love talking about the Great American Songbook and Great Forgotten Songbook, but who are some of the major players? Today, let's talk about Gilbert and Sullivan. As we delve into their work, it's really important to recognize the significance of their contributions, not only to theater of the time, but the impact on today as well. Think about it this way. Without Gilbert and Sullivan, we wouldn't have the Disney movie musicals we know and love today. So let's continue on our series talking about the different key players and some shows that led to the creation of those Disney movie musicals. Let's dive in. W.S. Gilbert was born in 1936. Ultimately, he began his career as a lawyer, not dissimilar to how Cole Porter started his college in law school. But ultimately, Gilbert turned to writing plays, and he soon became known for his sharp wit, satire, and ability to really critique Victorian society through humor. His plays often featured very intricate plots and memorable characters with clever wordplay that really satirized the social and political issues of the time. Gilbert was born on November 18th, 1936, in London, England. He was born to a small naval surgeon named William Gilbert and his wife, Anne Mary. His family had connections to the British military and naval services, which may have really influenced his later interest in some nautical themes. Gilbert attended schools in London and one in France for a brief period of time. He initially studied to be a civil servant, but abandoned this path in favor of a legal career, entering the bar as a barrister in 1859. However, he soon discovered a passion for writing and the theater. Gilbert's early literary efforts included humorous articles and poems featured in magazines and newspapers. Then he began writing plays and short stories, often featuring his trademark sharp wit and satire, which would really become the hallmark of his work. In 1867, Gilbert married Lucy Agnes Turner, with whom he had one child, a daughter named Nancy. His family life provided both stability and inspiration for his creative endeavors, although his marriage was reportedly strained at times. By the early 1870s, Gilbert had established himself as a successful playwright and librettist. His collaboration with Sullivan, beginning with Thepsis in 1871 and solidifying with Trial by Jury in 1875, ultimately marked a turning point in his career. This partnership would produce some of the most beloved works in musical theater history. Next up, we have Arthur Sullivan! He was born in 1842. Sullivan showed musical talent from a very young age and received formal training at the Royal Academy of Music. He composed in various genres, really gaining recognition for his melodic gifts and skillful orchestrations. Sullivan's success in serious music was complemented by his ability to write really charming and catchy tunes, which would ultimately become hallmarks of his collaboration with Gilbert. Arthur Sullivan, often referred to as Sir Arthur Sullivan, was born on May 13th, 1842, in Lambeth, London. Sullivan's father, Thomas Sullivan, was ultimately a military bandmaster and clarinetist. He really encouraged young Sullivan's music by providing him with a really solid foundation in musical theory and practice. Ultimately, Arthur Sullivan showed exceptional promise as a composer and performer from his childhood years. Arthur Sullivan then received formal music education at the Chapel Royal, where he studied under John Goss, an esteemed composer and organist. His talent was recognized early, and he was admitted into the Royal Academy of Music at age 14, where he then continued to excel in composition and piano performance. By his late teens, Sullivan had already composed his first major works, including his first symphony, which was performed publicly when he was just 16 years old. His talent and dedication to music quickly garnered attention, leading to some very early successes and commissions from various compositions. Sullivan's interest in opera and operettas really began to emerge during his studies at the Royal Academy of Music. In 1866, he composed his first comedic opera, Cox and Box, which was very well received. His early success set the stage for his future collaboration with W.S. Gilbert. Sullivan's personal life was marked by his dedication to music and his pursuit of excellence in composition. He was knighted by Queen Victoria in 1883 for his contributions to music, becoming Sir Arthur Sullivan. Gilbert and Sullivan first collaborated in 1871 on Thepsis, a Christmas comic opera. However, their partnership really solidified with Trial by Jury in 1875, which was a critical success. Their producer, Richard D'Oyly Carte, recognized their potential and formed the D'Oyly Carte Opera Company to produce their works exclusively. This partnership led to a successful string of operettas, including HMS Pinafore in 1878, Pirates of Penzance in 1879, and many more. Together, Gilbert and Sullivan revolutionized musical theater by blending Gilbert's witty librettos with Sullivan's delightful melodies. This created enduring classics that continue to entertain audiences worldwide. Gilbert and Sullivan's collaboration was a unique blend of creative synergy and complementary skills that revolutionized musical theater. W.S. Gilbert, known for his sharp wit and keen sense of satire, really served as the librettist in their partnership. He crafted these intricate lyrics and dialogue that not only advanced the plot, but also provided some biting social commentary on Victorian society. Gilbert's writing often featured really complex characters and intricate plots, setting the stage for Sullivan's musical compositions. Then, Arthur Sullivan, being a classically trained composer with a knack for melody and orchestration, composed all of the music for their operettas. His compositions ranged from lively and catchy tunes to really poignant ballads, perfectly complementing Gilbert's lyrics and enhancing the emotional depth of the stories. Sullivan's ability to weave music seamlessly into the narrative structure was key to their success. Together, Gilbert and Sullivan struck a delicate balance between humor and social critique in their operettas. Their works often satirized the absurdities of Victorian society, including rigid class distinctions, bureaucratic inefficiencies, and moral hypocrisy. They used humor to not only entertain, but to provoke thought and reflection, making their operettas both entertaining and intellectually stimulating. Beyond their thematic content, Gilbert and Sullivan's collaborations marked a major moment of musical theater innovation. Sullivan's compositions incorporated diverse musical styles, from operatic grandeur to popular dance forms, reflecting the eclectic tastes of their audiences. This versatility really contributed to the broad appeal and enduring popularity of their works. We mentioned a couple notable works earlier, but let's dive in just a little bit more to talk about what these were. First up, we've got The Pirates of Penzance in 1879. So, this comedic opera tells the story of Frederick, a young apprentice pirate who, upon turning 21, decides he's going to leave piracy behind. So he falls in love with Mabel, the daughter of Major General Stanley. But their romance is complicated by a band of bumbling pirates, a comedically inept police force, and a misunderstanding regarding Frederick's birthday. Next up, we've got HMS Pinafore in 1878. This is, again, a satirical operetta that mocks the social hierarchy and bureaucratic inefficiency of Victorian England. The story revolves around the love between Ralph Rackstraw, a lowly sailor, and Josephine, the daughter of the pompous Captain Cochrane. Their love is thwarted by class distinctions and Josephine's arranged marriage to Sir Joseph Porter, the absurdly elevated First Lord of the Admiralty. Next up, we have The Gondoliers. In this light-hearted operetta, two Venetian gondoliers, Marco and Giuseppe, discover that one of them is actually the heir to the throne of this fictional kingdom of Bateria. The story follows their adventures as they navigate royal duties, mistaken identities, and the challenges of running a kingdom while balancing their personal lives and the affections of their wives. Operettas by Gilbert and Sullivan collectively represented a progressive shift in musical theater during the time in a few ways. First, with their satirical social commentary. Their operettas were always known for their sharp satire and critique of Victorian society. They often lampooned societal norms, bureaucratic inefficiencies, and class distinctions. For example, the HMS Pinafore, which we talked about earlier, directly mocked the rigid social hierarchy and political nepotism prevalent in England at the time. This portrayed the absurdity of aristocratic privilege and the incompetence of officials. Their work also featured strong female characters, which was unusual, again, in Victorian society. Their librettos often featured female characters who were not merely romantic interests, but had agency and wit. One example would be in The Pirates of Penzance, where Mabel stands out as a heroine who actively pursues her own romantic interests and challenges the conventions of her time. This portrayal was particularly progressive in an era where women were depicted in much more passive roles in theater. The works of Gilbert and Sullivan also featured incredibly innovative storytelling and theatrical techniques that challenged theatrical conventions of the time and influenced the development of musical theater. Their operettas featured complex plots, witty dialogue, and memorable musical numbers that integrated seamlessly into the narrative. This new approach set a standard for how music, humor, and social critique could be combined effectively on stage. Gilbert and Sullivan's works also had popular appeal and accessibility. Their operettas appealed to a broad audience of all social classes of the time, with their humorous situations, catchy tunes, and relatable characters, making their works accessible and entertaining to theatergoers regardless of their social class. This democratization of theatergoing was incredibly progressive and helped shape the future of popular entertainment. In summary, Gilbert and Sullivan's operettas were collectively progressive for their time due to their satirical social commentary, portrayal of strong female characters, innovative storytelling techniques, as well as theatrical techniques, and their broad popular appeal. Their works not only entertained audiences, but also challenged societal norms and contributed to the evolution of musical theater as a vibrant and socially aware art form. We've talked quite a bit about Gilbert and Sullivan so far, but what was their real impact? Ultimately, they revolutionized musical theater with their integration of music, dialogue, and satire. Gilbert and Sullivan transformed the entire landscape of musical theater by seamlessly integrating music, dialogue, and satire into their operettas. Unlike many earlier productions where songs were maybe loosely connected to what was happening, their works featured tightly woven narratives, where the musical numbers did contribute to some plot development as well as character development. This approach made their operettas more engaging and cohesive, setting a new standard for musical theater storytelling. They also had a significant influence on the development of operetta and musical comedy. So their unique styles significantly influenced the evolution of operetta and musical comedies. Gilbert and Sullivan's operettas ultimately were characterized by their witty librettos and memorable melodies that really blended humor with satire and social commentary. This combination established a template for future composers and lyricists, including those on the emerging Broadway scene. Composers like Jerome Kern and lyricists like Stephen Sondheim were later notably inspired by their work, incorporating similar elements of humor, narrative sophistication, and musical integration into their own productions. Gilbert and Sullivan also launched major theatrical innovations. I know a lot of these sound very similar, but they are a little different, so hear me out. Gilbert and Sullivan were actually pioneers in theatrical production, introducing several innovations that really enhanced the storytelling experience. They emphasized the importance of elaborate sets, costumes, and choreography to create visually captivating performances. Their attention to detail in stage design and production values really elevated the overall quality of their shows, making them much more immersive and appealing to audiences. These innovations set a high bar for future theatrical productions and influenced the visual and technical aspects of the future of musical theater. They also revolutionized musical theater culture. Beyond their artistic contributions, Gilbert and Sullivan helped create a culture of musical theater that really emphasized both entertainment and intellectual engagement. Their operettas encouraged audiences to think critically about societal issues while enjoying the performance. It fostered a deeper appreciation and appeal for the form. This cultural shift really contributed to the development of musical theater as a more respected and influential medium for artistic expression and social commentary. The works of Gilbert and Sullivan also have enduring popularity to this day. Their works, again, include some beloved classics that are performed regularly by both professional and amateur theater companies around the globe. Again, a couple notable ones being the Pirates of Penzance and HMS Pinafore. These are staples in the repertoires of opera houses and community theaters, really demonstrating their enduring appeal. These operettas have stood the test of time, captivating audiences again and again with their wit, memorable music, and timeless themes. Their ability to be enjoyed by diverse audiences really ensures that Gilbert and Sullivan's legacy continues to thrive today. Gilbert and Sullivan also had significant influence over the subsequent generations of musical theater composers. Their innovative style and approach really significantly influenced the trajectory of musical theater, impacting tons of legendary composers and lyricists. Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein II, known for their groundbreaking musicals such as Oklahoma and The Sound of Music, drew inspiration from the seamless integration of story, music, and character development found in Gilbert and Sullivan's works. Stephen Sondheim, who was acclaimed for his sophisticated lyrics and complex compositions with shows like Sweeney Todd and Into the Woods, also acknowledged the duo's influence on his craft. Gilbert and Sullivan's legacy is evident in the way these and other composers approached the art of musical theater, blending narrative with musical excellence. Gilbert and Sullivan ultimately left a lasting cultural impact, remaining relevant and influential even today. Their works are frequently adapted and reinterpreted to reflect modern sensibilities and social issues, really demonstrating their flexibility and enduring resonance. Productions often incorporate updated settings, new interpretations of characters, and contemporary social commentary, making the operettas accessible to new generations. This adaptability has allowed Gilbert and Sullivan's works to remain a vital part of the cultural conversation, really highlighting their relevance in addressing universal themes such as love, duty, and societal absurdities. Ultimately, the legacy and influence of Gilbert and Sullivan are profound, with their works continuing to be popular and performed worldwide. They have inspired subsequent generations of musical theater composers, including luminaries like Rodgers and Hammerstein, as well as Stephen Sondheim. Their cultural impact is evident in the ongoing relevance and reinterpretation of their operettas in contemporary musical theater, ensuring that their contributions to the art form really remain celebrated and influential. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit that bell for notifications and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Otherwise, thank you again so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.